Hi guys, it's Charlotte and welcome back to my channel. Particularly hello to those of you that are new. I know that Lauren over at Lauren in the Books gave me a shout out last week and I noticed I got a bunch more subscribers as a result. So hello to you lovelies. Without further ado, this is my May TBR. I have not yet done a TBR video on my channel just because the books that I set myself to read at the start of the month are usually a totally different pile of books to the ones that I end up finishing the month with. And so I'm kind of being a little bit brave here, at least by my standards, and saying that these are the books that I'm going with, whilst acknowledging that my May wrap-up may come around and it's a totally different set of books. Now, I've been having a little look through the books that I'm planning to read in May, and they actually can be broken down into 4 groups. We have the translated group, we have the books that have been hanging around on my Scribd account group, we have sort of very well established female authors that I either have yet to get to or am going back to in another group, and then the final group are the anticipated new releases for me of 2023. There are 3 that I am really looking forward to diving into this month because they have literally just been released hot off the press. So I think I'll start with that group because they're the most exciting for me. So we're going to start with Benjamin Myers' Cuddy. The title Cuddy comes from the kind of unofficial patron saint of the north of England, St Cuthbert, and it has a really strong tie actually to one of the books that you're going to see in my April wrap-up video, in that I read The Last Kingdom in April, and that features a lot of the things that Benjamin Myers' new book is going to be discussing. So things like the Northmen, things like the clash of religions at the time, when you have a bunch of Danes coming over with their religion and then a bunch of Anglo-Saxon who are Christian, and the clashes that involves. And at some point the bones of St Cuthbert are used as part of a kind of ceasefire, a truce between the Anglo-Saxon and the Danes, I believe. And so Benjamin Myers' book, I think, as well as being historical fiction, is going to blend a little bit of mythology, and actually should be covering a lot of ground that I am already familiar with, given that I'm a massive fan of the whole Last Kingdom kind of series as a whole. I kind of deep dived into it through the Netflix series. I believe there's been 4 or 5 series now of The Last Kingdom on Netflix. And so, as I say, in April I read the first book, and I think there's 13 books in total. So you'll hear more of my thoughts on, how much I absolutely loved it in my April wrap-up. But I just find it interesting that the book that I'm picking up in May is very much talking to the same time period and the same characters, and presumably the same themes as well. So that will be really, really exciting for me. Benjamin Myers is one of my absolute favourite authors. I think of his generation, I can't think of a better male author. I think he is an absolute, he is one to watch, and this book, not only am I watching it for the Booker Prize in the summer as a potential, but I'm also watching it for the Portico Prize longlist in September, I believe. So I expect this to do really, really well this year. I hope that I love it. I have never not enjoyed a Benjamin Myers book, so I'm really, really hoping that this is an absolute knockout success like his other books. He writes phenomenally. If you are sleeping on Benjamin Myers and you haven't got to him yet, then this is your chance to do so. I believe all of his work is available on Scribd. Cuddy actually is the only one that's not yet available because it was released within the last couple of months. So I'm hoping to either see it appear on Scribd or splurge on the Kindle edition, which I think is something like £11, which is actually very expensive for an ebook, I find. But it kind of feels like it's Benjamin Myers. I absolutely love him. So yeah, I have to get my hands on that novel ASAP. So going on to my second anticipated release that I will be reading in May. This is Alice Slater, who is a debut author, and this is her thriller slash true crime drama, The Death of a Bookseller. And the biggest appeal that this has for me is that it is blurbed by one of my all-time favourite thriller authors, Catherine Ryan Howard, who wrote The Nothing Man and 56 Days, and I absolutely just love her writing. I think she does thrillers exceptionally well. So I feel like if this is good enough for Catherine Ryan Howard, it's good enough for me, and that is why I want to get to this one in May. That leaves us with the third book then in this anticipated releases group, and that is Small Worlds by none other than Caleb Azumah Nelson. Now his debut novel, Open Water, was my absolute favourite book of 2021, and that was a year where I read 185 books, so he was top out of 185 books, and if that isn't testament enough, I don't know what is. This is sort of part 2 in a trilogy, but it's about fathers and sons, it's about dance and the church, and so I'm hoping this is right up my street, and even if the topic isn't, his writing I feel is so strong that it will carry me through the book. So going on to group 2 then, and this is the translated section. There is one translated piece of non-fiction which is coming from Fernanda Melchor, who has written books like Hurricane Season and Paradise, which have both been hugely popular. This is being published again by Fitzcarraldo, so it's their white cover. And this is kind of interlinked short stories from a journalistic perspective. And I think she's blending kind of narrative and non-fiction here. So I'm expecting short, sharp, snappy, to the point discussions around a wider theme. So this is not Miami, we're based in Veracruz in Mexico, and it's about following specific individuals there and their lives in order to better explain the context around the city as a whole. So I think it's going to cover the migrant experience, drugs, poverty, politics, that sort of thing. I got an advanced reader copy from NetGalley, so thank you very much, Fitzcarraldo. One of my absolute favourite indie publishing houses. I love you so much, and thank you very much for my copy. The next one then in this translated section is Stefan Zweig's The Post Office Girl, and the only thing I know about this is that it's sort of a Cinderella story type of retelling, except it's about a girl who works in a post office, and I think it's mixed up with World War II and communication via post and things like that. So, and there's also a romance plotline going through as well. So I'm hoping for good things, but I've never read this author before. So then the next book in this group is Fig Tree, and this is coming out of the Balkans. The only thing I need to say about this book really is that it's a multi-generational family saga. Need I say more? I absolutely love multi-generational family sagas. They are one of the reasons why I read. I just absolutely find them fascinating. This covers the tumultuous history of the Balkans, so we're covering the Balkan War, the 1990s, but it goes all the way up to the present day through the eyes of one family. So to say I'm looking forward to this is an understatement. This book initially came onto my radar through Jen over at Insert Literary Pun here. And she has been shouting this book out for years. It's made her top books list several times, and so I would not know this book's name without her, so thank you very much, Jen. So the next group of books are the books that I'm trying to clear off of my Scribd saved titles. So the first one of those came onto my radar last year through the Canada Reads 2022 prize, and this is Five Little Indians. I'm so excited to read this book. In fact, I've already read the first chapter and I'm already enjoying the writing style, so I think this book is going to be right up my street. The Five Little Indians refers to the 5 children who are now adults that we will be following throughout the course of this novel, interchanging between the 5 of their lives and perspectives. I really enjoy books that are multi-perspective, and so some of them I feel overlap. So I think it's about obviously the trauma of the boarding school system that used to exist in Canada, and how the children are trying to forge ahead together, find community and strengthen each other, and try and get over as best they can and move forward from this incredibly tragic and horrific childhood and past. So this sounds like it could be a real winner. Could this win my May Book of the Month pick? Who knows? So but I have high hopes for this one. So the next one then on this Clearing Charlotte Scribd backlist is, there are actually 2 audiobooks. The first one is Reservoir XIII by Jon Macgregor, which I feel, having read Jon Macgregor's Lean Falls Stand as a book, I feel the poetic nature of his writing and the sort of rhythm of it will really lend itself to audiobook narration more so than other authors, because sometimes I tend to struggle with audiobooks because I lose the plot. I kind of drift off and wander off, and so I feel that the poetic rhythmic structure of Jon Macgregor's writing that is kind of naturally inherently present will really be delivered in full over narration, and irregardless of the content. I know that Reservoir XIII is about a missing child and how a community kind of breaks apart and tries to move on. But then the second audiobook that is on my Scribd account ready to read is by Sebastian Barry, and this is eligible for this year's Booker Prize. It's called Old God's Time, and the only reason that I'm reading this on audiobook is because none of my platforms that I use to get books has this available in kind of written word format. So yes, it's a case of needs must with this one. I hope that the interesting plot carries me through this and that I don't sort of wander off into daydreams when I'm trying to listen to this audiobook, because this is about a retired police detective who retires to this sort of annex attached to this Victorian castle that overlooks the Irish Sea. So he's very isolated, he wants to be isolated, and he's several months into his retirement when he gets a knock at the door from 2 police officers wanting to know more about a case that he worked on as a young man. And that's then bringing up the past, and there's a lot to do with memory and trauma and kind of admitting I think the role that you play, whether intentionally or unintentionally. I'm hoping for good things with this one, and as I say, it's on that list because I'm trying to preempt a lot of the books that may be on the Booker this year, just so that I don't have a ton of reading over the summer in a very condensed amount of time, because I am reading the Booker long list and the Portico Prize long list pretty much at the same time at some points. So yeah, trying to get ahead and read some stuff is kind of more self-preservation for the summer. So the final section then, the final group of books in this May TBR video are kind of I'm loosely naming it popular female authors, because it has Barbara Pym in it, Kate Mosse in it, and Phillippa Gregory in it. Let's start with Barbara Pym. The Barbara Pym book that I'm reading is called A Few Green Leaves. Now I'm hoping, so this is one of her earlier novels. I've read a couple of her novels so far and enjoyed some but not others, namely Jane and Prudence. I kind of gave like a middle of the road rating, and then Excellent Women I rated 5 stars, and it's one of my favourite books of the year that I read it. I'd like to get to Quartet in Autumn because it, I believe, was shortlisted for the Booker when it was published. But this one, I think, came up as a 99p Kindle deal, so hence why I got that one instead. But I'm still expecting the same domesticity and sort of gossipy nature that seems to be entrenched in all of Barbara Pym's novels, and I'm there for it. I absolutely love it. I feel like it's so quintessentially English and country life, and it's just so quaint and lovely, and it normally leaves me in absolute cackles at these women, and they just make me smile and make me laugh. So Barbara Pym for me is always a joyous read, even if I don't necessarily love it. It's always an enjoyable time. So the next book then is by Phillippa Gregory in this category, and this is Tidelands, and I believe this is the first in a series. I've never read Phillippa Gregory before, but I know she does historical fiction and she is prolific in her writing. I think she has something like 50 books. She really pumps books out at one heck of a rate. Now that can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing, because it's all about, you know, quantity versus quality, like how good can those books really be. So I am going into Phillippa Gregory's work skeptical, but I do want to give it a go because she is such a well-known and well-loved historical fiction writer, and as somebody who enjoys historical fiction, I feel like I at least want to try her works, even if this does not end up in my May wrap-up. I really feel like I would be missing a trick if I confessed to loving historical fiction but had never read a Phillippa Gregory book. So that brings me on then to the last book that I'm going to speak about, which is Labyrinth by Kate Mosse. And I'm really excited for this book because it reminds me of sort of a female version of Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. We don't follow, rather than following Robert Langdon, written by Dan Brown, we're following, I think, Allais, who is a French young woman, written by Kate Mosse. And this girl, I think, it's told dual timeline. So we're in the present day with this girl as she uncovers hidden caves in the rural French countryside, and it's about the quest for the Holy Grail, similarly to Angels and Demons. I'm really hoping this works. I really hope the writing works for me. The fact that it's dual timeline is a big tick, and also dual perspective is a big tick, because I really like the pace that creates in a novel. Fingers crossed with all of these that I'll enjoy them. I've been meaning to do a reading vlog here based in Bali, and I live specifically in Ubud, but I'm not really sure what to film, so as sort of footage that you guys might want to see in the vlog. So if I'm discussing the books and then showing you a bit of the scenery in Ubud, because I live here and I've lived here for about a year now, when you live in a place, the place itself becomes quite mundane, and so it's hard to know what may be interesting, because my general day-to-day life involves a yoga studio, eateries and cafes, and you know, just general streets and things like that, and walking around, and it's not massively exciting. So I'm not sure what to include as B-roll footage. So if you have never been to Ubud, or you have been to Ubud and you know, okay, show me a temple or a rice terrace or the French bakery that you like, or the inside of your yoga studio, or whatever it is that you would like to see from Ubud. Maybe you want to see the Ubudian monkeys. I know that Ubud is famous for its monkeys, and I absolutely am terrified of them, but maybe I can get some shots of the monkeys. So yeah, stuff like that, because as I say, imagine doing kind of footage of your local area, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what other people would find interesting about where I live. So yeah, please do let me know if you, as I say, have maybe wanted to come to Bali and you have a specific thing that you want to see. Then I will of course try and accommodate, and any ideas are welcome, because at the moment I'm just thinking I'll just walk around the streets and sort of, as I walk around, just to kind of film a little bit, but yeah, I'm not sure. So yes, with that, thank you very much for watching, guys. Leave me down in the comments below what you're planning to read in May. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned, then feel free to leave me comments on if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what your thoughts were, that sort of thing. As always, my social medias are linked below, so my Goodreads, I post on there as I finish books. If you want to be a little bit earlier to what I think about a book, then my reviews will be on Goodreads. Storygraph is also linked down there. My tip jar is linked down below. My Bookstagram is linked down below as well. So there's many places where you can find me for more content throughout the week. And until next time, guys, happy reading. Bye bye.